Yo, what's going on out there? It's me coming to you again, Larry Jenkins, and this is my little sports update coming to you on Friday where we have breaking news in the NBA. It's not quite that breaking to me. I'm just surprised it took so long for these guys to figure it out that Mike Brown has been fired as the Los Angeles Lakers coach, and in my personal opinion, it is the start of something to go towards the right direction in improving this team. Now, we already know the bench is trash. We know that they don't have any legitimate point guards outside of Steve Nash. The chemistry is still developing with this team. Like I said, it was going to take a while for that to happen. But in the other news, though, when it comes to firing Mike Brown, the next question that comes is, who is the next head coach? Now, I honestly do not know the answer to this question for the simple fact everybody's going to pull Phil Jackson out the hat immediately, saying that he's the only one that can control this team. Now, I really don't agree with that, but there's things that people need to realize. First of all, like I said, the Lakers bench is trash. They don't really have any reliable guy to come off the bench and really call a sixth man to help man that second unit. Steve Blake has not been as good as he's possibly can be. Jordan Hill is not good. I don't even know who the backup power forward for this team is. Devin Ebanks hasn't been good. Jody Meeks hasn't been as good. I mean, there's a lot of holes in this team, especially when it comes to the bench. The starting unit, we know that Steve Nash has been out since the first game with the knee injury. And I think once he comes back, that's going to change a lot of things. Now, a lot of people will say Mike D'Antoni should be the next guy, but the thing is, these guys aren't very well defensively either. And I told people that even though you bring in a guy like a Steve Nash, sure, Dwight Howard will help mask some of his mistakes, but come on now, he can't cover up everything. And you can't rely on Dwight Howard to just do everything. They don't have a real coach there to preach the defensive philosophy the way that a Stan Van Gundy did. Now, in my personal opinion, I would like to see somebody like a Jerry Sloan or Nate McMillan showed up. They are guys who have shown the ability to coach teams of high caliber players. Jerry Sloan did it in Utah for many years. During the Stockton Malone era, when Darren Williams came over, he was able to control him until obviously the last part of his season. But even with scrappy guys, Jerry Sloan has been able to do a good job with producing results out of those guys. Nate McMillan, we've seen what he did his first couple of years in Portland before he was ousted. Granted, it wasn't all his fault. His team could not stay healthy. Those are two guys who I like to see on the sidelines for this team. Do I think that will happen? Probably not, but you know, it's LA. They're going to want to bring in somebody high profile. Everybody wants to say they want to see Brian Shaw show up, but he's an assistant in Indiana still, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that anything immediate will happen, but if I'm the Lakers, I get on the phone, I call up Jerry Sloan, I'd be like, hey, come coach our team. Moving on, NFL Week 10, we are here. We seen the Indianapolis Colts dispatch the Jacksonville Jaguars last night with little to no problems. Andrew Luck still looks amazing. He's been continuously progressing, and I think he's really making a case for NFL Rookie of the Year, showing that he is worth that #1 overall pick. But since that game has been played, we have the rest of the games on the slate for me to predict, and here they are. Oakland and Baltimore. Baltimore is at home. They're looking to rebound after a dismal performance. I'm not going to say that even though they got a W, that performance that they had against Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, last week, it was abysmal by Baltimore standards. I think that they should be able to bounce back, especially considering this Oakland team gives up a lot of points. The offense needs to get going, and we should see something happen with that. Denver and Carolina. Carolina surprised a lot of people last week by beating Washington. But I don't think that they have enough to contend with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has been looking better and better as the season progresses. We're in Week 10. He's looking real good, real sharp, and I think that they continue to roll Denver in that one. The Giants and the Bengals. The Bengals coming off a bye. The Giants coming off a loss. They lose last week? I'm sure they lost because I had them in my pool. That was one of the games that I needed, and unfortunately they didn't come through for me. But let's see. Last game, yes, it was a loss against Pittsburgh, late loss. Pittsburgh came back and beat them in that one. I think the Giants will look to rebound, honestly, but Cincinnati coming off the bye, they'll be well rested. I think that Cincinnati will pull one out of the hat, and we'll see the Giants continue to struggle. Let's see, Tennessee and Miami. Now, I picked Miami last week. They didn't get it done. I think, honestly, Miami has all the tools to beat Tennessee, but Tennessee got just flat out obliterated in the first quarter by this Chicago Bears defense, which is not really saying much of anything because it is the Bears defense, who I think is a lot better than people offenses. But they're getting Jake Locker back. Whether or not I think that will make a difference, it remains to be seen. But Miami is at home. They probably want revenge after losing to the Colts last week. I think Miami will get this one. Detroit, Minnesota is really a toss-up game. I really don't know who to pick in this one, but I'm going to go ahead and say that because Matt Stafford has been looking a lot sharper lately, I will say that he will be able to get this one. No Percy Harvin for the Minnesota Vikings. Detroit should be able to handle this if they can stop Adrian Peterson. Buffalo, New England. New England is going to light them up. There should be a lot of points on the board at the end of this one. Stephen Ridley should have a huge game. Atlanta and New Orleans, this is going to be my upset special. I'm picking the Saints to end the Falcons streak. They're at home. This is a rivalry game. NFC South is on the line. Well, not really, because I think Atlanta's already got the division locked up. But New Orleans is looking rejuvenized. They are looking for playoffs. They're coming off a big win last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that New Orleans is on the path now to get back to where we expect them to be. San Diego and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is looking real good as of late. We've seen the muscle hamster Doug Martin go off last week in an amazing performance. Do I think it continues? Yes, I do, against these San Diego Chargers. So I'm picking the Bucs in that one. The Jets and Seattle. Seattle's at home. The Jets are trash. End of story. Seattle wins. Dallas and Philly. Two trash quarterbacks going head-to-head. Yes, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Romo is trash. Vic is trash. They're both trash. This one is really going to be whose defense shows up. Dallas defense is a lot better, in my opinion, than the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I look for them to go ahead and light up Michael Vick a couple more times. Dallas pulls out the win. Eagles go home wondering what's going to happen to them next season. St. Louis and San Francisco, no question San Francisco. Houston and Chicago, battle of good defenses. Who's going to win this one? I honestly do not know. But I will say this, it's a Sunday night game. Chicago's at home. They look dominating, but it was against Tennessee. Houston. I look for this game to be a lot more productive for Arian Foster than it was last week. I think that Houston comes off of this one, gets the win. And then Monday night, Kansas City and Pittsburgh, there's no doubt that the Steelers should win this one. Those have been my predictions for this week. My memory is a little jogged on some of the games that happened last week. Y'all have to forgive me on that one. But I will say this. The game that I'm most interested in watching is the Atlanta-New Orleans game. I mean, this is a huge statement game for the New Orleans Saints. If they can pull off a victory against these Falcons, it will boost morale. It will help project these guys to a whole nother level, and I think they will be on their way to the playoffs if they are able to knock off the Falcons. I think that this win could do that much for these New Orleans Saints. So, that being said, Mike Brown is out as coach. I said it was going to happen. Y'all didn't want to believe me, and it did. Oh, one more thing before I go. Huge news in the UFC. Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate have both signed on to join with the UFC. Now, we all know that Dana White in the past said he doesn't want to incorporate a women's division in the UFC, but lo and behold, it seems that Dana White is going the Vince McMahon route and monopolizing everything that is MMA. Now, do I think it is a good move for Dana White to go back on his word on what he said he was going to do before in terms of allowing women to fight in the UFC? I mean, women fighting in MMA is very exciting. If you haven't seen it, those girls get after it. They get bloody. They battle is just as skilled as the men are. And I think that ultimately it's going to prove beneficial for the UFC. Now, I don't know what capacity that this will actually do for the women's in the UFC, but I want to know who else is Dana White going to look to bring in, because right now you only have two women, Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. Now, we know Ronda Rousey has been hot lately. She's been whooping everybody that's been put in front of her. She's done it impressively. Tate was one of her opponents. She broke her arm, and she came back from the broken arm and got her victory. So it remains to be seen exactly who Dana White brings in for the competition in the women's division if he's looking to actually establish a women's division in the UFC. I find it interesting. I hope that he does go that route. I mean, everybody wants to see it. Ronda Rousey is a hot name right now. I mean, why would you not capitalize on it? It only remains to be seen what's going to happen. So that's another thing that was important in my opinion. I really can't wait to see how this all develops. But that being said, Mike Brown is out. Who's in? Who knows? I don't know. I gave you my Week 10 predictions in the NFL. Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, they are both joined up with the UFC. Who's next? We don't know. We know that Strikeforce will probably be folding soon, so everybody's going to jump ship to the UFC more than likely. It just remains to be seen how much Dana White puts into investing and bringing in to solidify actual women's division in the UFC. Whether or not we see how that happens, it remains to be seen. But this is Larry Jenkins with my sports update. Let me know what you guys think. I know this was a little like dragged out, not informative as I normally can be, but I am a little bit tired. I'm a little bit winded. My mind isn't as clear as it normally is. But I did it. I did it for y'all because I love y'all out there. I love that y'all support me or what have you. So go ahead, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. So I'll holler at y'all. Peace.